All right, so what are we doing, Jen?
So I'm gonna mute, sorry, and I'm gonna eat. Well,
okay. Yep. So I'm gonna mute everybody really quick. All right, Dad, Mike, and Mark, you guys unmute.
Okay, so we ready to start?
Yeah. So we are recording, so we can.
The first thing I'm going to say is I'm really excited about this boot camp. I think the structure of this is going to change lives. I really do think that we've honed in on this. We've danced around it for a couple of years, how to get people to really get stuff done. And I think that this process is really the thing that is very exciting. People have made some progress already. That's pretty cool. But this boot camp over the next year, and this group particularly, you guys are like premium and primed for it. And the reason it's obviously important to you that you accomplish the goals that you have. So you have to be really clear on what those goals are. And I think what Jennifer's got is going to help you establish some of those goals for yourself as we go through the processes over the next couple of weeks before we get there. And then when we get there in April, we will hone in on those goals, review those things, look for the low-hanging fruit, and see how we can accomplish this as fast as possible. Because for us to be successful, you got to be successful. I mean, there is nothing worse. And this is not just me talking. This is every coach I've ever talked to who's worth their salt. There's nothing worse than having people in a program like this who don't do the work and don't accomplish what they need to accomplish and then say that it doesn't work, right? Because it only works if you do the stuff that you got to do. And we're going to be there with you every step of the way to make sure that this gets done the way that it needs to get done. And that's why it's so exciting. So to kick this off, let's talk about who's here. Now, you guys have probably all met Mark. I'm not going to introduce you, Jennifer. Everybody knows you. But you probably all have met Mark. So Mark, say something. I unmuted you.
I see a lot of familiar faces here. That's what I'll say, and I like that.
That's good. The other thing about this group is we've got Mike on board as well. And Mike, where are you? I'm looking for you on the screen here. There you are. So Mike,
I'm here.
Yeah. So did everybody know Mike? Have you met Mike so far?
I think I have met everyone that's in here right now. I have had the pleasures. Yeah. Yep.
I believe at a previous meeting in Atlanta, I think you met Kathy.
Yep.
That's good.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So before Jen gets started with the tactical part of this, Mark, I wanted to ask you what you thought about what's going to happen in this next year with this group and what your plan is for accomplishing what you can.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And Jen and Mike and I have really sat down and noodled pretty hard on this. And I think the previous iterations of the boot camp have been wonderful, and we've seen a lot of results with that group. And I think, folks like Melanie can attest to that. But I think there were a couple things that weren't allowing us to run as fast as we wanted to run in the past. And I think that's what Jen and I have really attempted to solve for this time. So what I want to do at this first boot camp and ahead of this first boot camp is really get clear on where you are currently, what you want to accomplish, and where you're going to need help getting there, right? I think making sure that we have a very clear understanding of all of those things ahead of time is going to allow us to hit the ground running when we actually all get to Atlanta. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I was surprised that all of you have met Mike. I don't know, Tamika, if you have met Mike or not, but one thing I wanted to say is Jen and I handpicked Mike, and I could not be more excited that he's going to join us. He is a very, very good strategy-minded individual, and I think a lot of us will benefit from that. And he brings a lot of the Infusionsoft skills to the table that Jen and I also possess, as well as just automation in general. So I think that's going to let us all work from a strategy-oriented place first, But more importantly, just start knocking things off the to-do list. That, I think, is where Mike and I have seen small business owners just have trouble with the execution. It's understandable. There's a lot of tools out there that you have to learn. And I think we've put together a group that can really help us move through that really fast. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Mark, you're right. I miss Tamika. It feels like this meeting is a bit of a clown car. There's just new faces that pop up. But Tamika, it's nice to meet you. And I feel like I know Tamika because we talked about her business quite a bit through examples in Atlanta.
You did meet her, right? She was in Atlanta at the first. Yeah, she was there, but she was the person who was there for the first day, flew out for a wedding, and flew back for the next day. So she's in the front row.
Nice to re-meet you is what I meant. And welcome. I'm excited to work with you.
Okay. So Jen.
So one of the things, though, that I wanted to say about Mike, because I just feel like I need to say some good stuff about him, too, and really give him the push, is that what I love about working with Mike is that Mike is 100% focused on what he likes to call, and Mike, I'm going to mess this up, but like you call it like the wow factor. And it's about creating a wow experience from the customer side. And, you know, I think a lot of times we get so like just into doing what we're doing from a business operations perspective of like getting it done, that we fail to look at it from the customer side and look at it from how the customer is experiencing things. And Mike, I really feel like you bring that perspective to the table.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I can comment on that.
Yeah.
I just feel like too often in online businesses today, we get emails in our inboxes and we're so fast to just ignore and delete emails. But when we're on the sending side of communications, the emails we write are exactly parallel to some of those that we are easy to skip over. So I really pay close attention, and I encourage. Here's your first Mike tip and strategy is I really encourage you pay attention to emails that you're getting, and you probably all are doing this already, that make you stop and listen and look, right? And those are the types of things that we need to, through this 12-month process, strategically place in your businesses, right? How do we create those types of experiences that make you stop, open, click, do the things that businesses need to do to be successful? And it to me, it's a lot of what I do, Jen, is based on building relationships, right? And that's really what I want all of you to do, is let's figure out a way to build long-lasting relationships, get away from maybe the transactional relationships of past, and build something that's lasting, where customers come back to you because they know, love, and trust you. And that's ultimately what successful business is.
Yep, exactly. So I just love that perspective that you bring to the table. And so,
so the other thing I want to share real quick is that you all have to get glasses like mine and Mike's. Because
that's what all the cool kids are wearing.
All the cool kids
I was going to say, I feel kind of left out here.
So, you know, for tonight, and Dad, I'm going to kind of need your help a little bit here. Okay, well, we're screwed. So what I have done, and I don't want to get into this until kind of the end, because I really think that the most important thing for us to do tonight is really understand the importance of there's two things that we have to do as we're moving forward with this boot camp. And it's you doing it, and it's us fully understanding the why. And that is that we need to understand what strategically you want your business to be in the next 12 months, so that we can then help you to execute and implement it. But at the same time, we also have to create, in these little 3-month blocks, we've got to create fast wins. And, you know, you guys may have heard me say this before. I am the kind of person, because of the amount of work that I have to get done every day, I have to create wins for myself in our business every day. And sometimes those wins for me are, you know, just getting a landing page published that I've been putting off, but it's figuring out what it is that makes you like motivated to move on to the next thing and not get overwhelmed and not want to say, screw it, I'm going to go watch Netflix, because I can get there too. And so there's really a balance here of figuring out what the long term is going to be, but then figuring out how we can create the short, fast wins for you so that you have the motivation and the drive to want to keep moving every single day, because that's really, you know, I think what we got to do is be moving every day. So, Dad, did we lose you?
Yeah, I lost my video, but my audio is here, so it's rebooting. So go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to add to that, Jen. I think that's a really, really good point, and something that I think I would like everyone to think about before we get to this event is my default is to say, okay, where do I want my business to be in 2 or 3 years? What's that kind of grand plan? But also at the same time, for a lot of us who have side businesses at the moment and are fully employed elsewhere, that is kind of it feels like, well, I can't stay motivated that long. And for those of us who are doing this full time, it's important while we're building that long-term foundational element that is going to take some time to think about where there are some short-term gains that we can make. And I just want to underscore that point, because I think it's a really important one, that there are two sides of this coin that we need to balance, and we need to balance it appropriately on both the short and the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one more thing I wanted to say, Jen, about this was, we had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I think that may be in joining this. We have 2 openings in this boot camp, and I think one of them is filled, but I would love to get this fully booked before the 12th. So just be aware, there might be 2 more people that join this. And Ted is the one who's missing from here, Jen. So
yeah, I know he had an appointment.
Okay, so so the other thing I wanted to say about this was the conversation we had with this person started out with, well, what do you want? And I think it's really important to have an idea of what you want your business to be. And I'm not just talking about, well, she said, you know, initially she started talking about, well, I wanted to do this, and I want the website to do that, and I want that. And that's not the point. The point is, what kind of a life do you want? Because your business is going to support that life. That's the point of this whole thing. Jennifer and I work really, really hard. And we're at the point now, after this rebuild on the Insiders Club and everything else, we're ready to focus on having it support our life versus us supporting it. So we're going through this boot camp with you. We're making the changes that we need to make here. And Mark's involved, and Mike's involved. We're all involved in making exactly those changes that we need to make for us as well to support our life. But we know what that life is. And as long as you know what that life is, you can move toward that life. And it may not be what you think it is. And I use Melanie as an example all the time because, you know, Melanie came to us and said she wanted the Business Success Academy, which, you know, it's a great idea. But what she had was low-hanging fruit with Use Your PLR. And that was able to create, when we saw that, we realized there's an opportunity here to create money fast. And that's what we want everybody here to be aware of, is that you've got opportunity to make money fast. We just have to identify what it is. Okay? So that's what that's the reason. And the last thing, sorry, and then I'm going to shut up for the rest of this. The last thing is, as you can see, we have 10 people in this group, and we've got 4 implementers on this group. And we'll have a 5th if we get 10 people there. But it's Jen, Mike, Mark, and me. We've invested heavily in making sure that you have every resource that you need. That's not going to be an excuse. Technology is not an excuse. Process is not an excuse. Strategy is not even an excuse. because we've got the people here that are going to help you move forward. What's going to be really important for you to do is the work. And you're going to have to drive the traffic. You're going to have to figure out how to get customers and all of that. So there.
Well, but the other part that's going to be really important as Dad laid down the hammer, because you know I always like to go back behind him a little bit and sweeten things up. Yeah. So that's really funny that you say that, because we do that quite a bit, where I say what he really meant was, but the other part is that communication.
My wife, by the way.
What's that?
So does my wife, by the way.
But communication, and I don't ever want you. And Mark and Mike, this would be a really great place for you guys to chime in, because it's based on experience, I think. How long do you stare at something before you say, I need help, and you reach out to somebody for help? And
that's a question, right?
oh yeah, I thought I got lost. I thought I got cut off.
You got cut off for a second, but I mean that is, I mean, that in today's age, like your question is related to fundamentally how the world from an education standpoint is changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like back in the day, it was okay, I have to study this book, memorize everything in this book, and be able to recite it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas as now in most modern classrooms, there's computers, right? And it's not about how much you can retain and learn. It's about how do you approach going to find the answer, because the answer exists. Whether that's crawling through a forum, whether that's talking to customer support, whether that's all of those. Anyway, this is a long rounded answer to, if you're facing an obstacle, there's two ways to approach it. It's to throw your hands up and to get frustrated and pull your hair out and say, I'm done with this. And then there's the, I'm going to face this challenge with optimism, and I'm going to find the right tool or the person who has the answer. And I think it's really important we talk about mindset as it's related to overcoming challenges, because it's literally the difference between being a successful business and not. I've worked with thousands of businesses. If the people in charge, which is all of you on this call, approach a problem by pulling your hair out and getting frustrated, it will lead to the failure of your business. So I don't take it lightly. And I think that all of us should make a pact that when we do face a challenge to these 12 months, we face it with optimism. And that's really my answer surrounding that.
And you know, I don't know if you guys have heard me tell this story or not, and if you have, I'm sorry. Everybody's gonna hear it again. But about 18 months ago, we were super frustrated, kind of where we were in our business, and I kept like banging my head against the wall, like looking for the door. Like where's the doorknob? Why can't I find the solution here? And the entire time I was doing that, I failed to recognize that there was a window that was wide open right next to me, because I was so focused on, I have to do this by myself. I have to get this done. This is the mindset of, this is the way things are going to work. I wasn't open at all to even thinking about a different process or a different outcome. And, the second that I just kind of looked around a little bit and noticed that there were options available and that I had support available, like things changed immediately. And so, Mark, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I do. I was just going to build on what Mike said a little bit, which is we are all in this together. And the other thing that I always say is that I feel like I'm intelligent enough to know that I don't always know the answer, right? And we here collectively are a group. We have a forum in which we can ask questions, we can poke holes in people's ideas, we can solicit advice. And I think that is one of the most important things that we can do over this 12-month period, is lean on the other people in this room. If I have an HR question, I know I'm going to go to Tamika and ask her about it, because I don't know anything about HR and she does, right? And there's examples of that with every single person on this call. So let's be a community and let's be each other's backstop and support here. And I think Mike and myself and Jen and David can lead that charge. And Mike and I and Jen collectively know a whole lot about technology, and we know when we don't know the answer, but we usually know who you should go to find that answer, right? So that's the only other thing that I would add is if we pool our brain power here and we look at all of these challenges as hurdles that we can overcome, as Mike said, and face them with optimism, I'm pretty sure we can accomplish a whole lot in this year.
Yep. So, Dad, did you lose your hotspot again?
Well, I jumped onto my other network and I lost my video, so I'm just going to be here
Okay.
on the phone.
Okay, so you can't see anything though, right?
Well, no, but I can try. Hold on.
Okay. Well, no, I just need to know.
Yep, just
Well,
keep
you
going.
can. So one of the things that we've done is that we've created, and I've sent all of you, except Cheryl. If you will ping me, I didn't know if you had a special Gmail address that you preferred to use, or if you wanted me to use your CLC group email. So I can. You want CLC? Okay. So I have sent everybody. Let me actually just do that really quick, Cheryl, so that you have got it. And 2 seconds. I've got your file right here. Oh, that was your Gmail address. Okay. So what I've done is we've created Google Drive folders for you guys. And to start with, they've got some questionnaires and some intake forms and an asset inventory. And I want to talk about the importance of all of these. We're not going to do them on the call, but I want to talk about them on the call so that you can really think through it and work on them. Now, this folder too, you guys each have access to your individual folders, and then me, Mike, Mark, and Dad have access to the folder as well. So you can always load things there, and that way it's easy for us to find. Mike is, and we've kind of got the form to work out still, but we'll be like doing, when you're having your meetings with Mike, it's, what are the things that need to get done? We want to make sure that we've got a way for you to know what the next things are, so that you've got your checklist, your execution plans. And so everything is going to live in these Google files so that we all just can collaborate on them. Now, some of you that are on this call have already done an an asset inventory with us because you were in the other program, but you also probably need to update it because a lot has changed for you in your business as well in the past 12 months. So I want to make sure that you update that. And when we talk about assets, we're not talking about money. We're talking about tools, products, things that you have that you can run your business, because our number one goal for you is that you don't spend any more money. We want to use the stuff you've got, and we want to know if your products are created. We want to know, are you 80% done to having it, finished? That's the kind of stuff for us that's going to help us to really look at where you are and help you to analyze what that low-hanging fruit is and what we can get done fast. So it's really important that we know all of those things. And so that's the first piece that's in the file that we've sent. And it's just a little spreadsheet. The second thing, though, I'm actually going to share my screen because I want to show you the second piece because I just added it. Here it is. All right. You guys see my screen? Yes? Okay. Make this a little bigger. So the other thing I've added here is the second tab. And I'm thinking that the way that as we work through this, the best thing to do is for us just to add another tab each time so that we're really clear about what you need, what assets we need to accomplish on the weekends that we're together. That's going to be really helpful for me to get the team ready and in place, and they know what we need to do. If I know that, the first weekend that we've got to do 9 sales pages, and then I got to have my acting gear, to make sure that we've got people that we can get 9 sales pages done, as opposed to creating some content versus some landing pages or writing emails and things like that. So on the second tab here, what I've done.
Let's not set expectations that we can do that, because we can't. Creating a sales page that is really good means having some deep conversations about what that product is and what it needs to be. So that has to happen first.
So what we want to do
saying.
here, yeah, but it's really important that we also understand whether things have been started or whether they haven't been started too. And this helps us to really determine the low-hanging fruit. So as you're working through on the current assets pages, this is what you've currently got. And this just helps us to understand domain names, hosting, what autoresponder. You guys all have Infusionsoft, so this should be pretty easy. This is the really important part here, is the products and the lead generation, because that's going to help us create really start creating an actual execution plan based around the products that you've got. Now, you might want to create a product in part of this boot camp, in part of your 12-month plan, and that's great. But we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we want to make money while we're coming up with maybe new strategy or new product or new membership for you. So this is real important that we know these things, and really understanding, making sure that you've got us the URL for the sales pages, understanding what the price points are, understanding, is it membership, is it subscription, is it a one-time, is it a 3-pay, just understanding the pricing structure, because as we're working through these plans too, we want to meet financial goals for your business. And so it's going to be really hard to meet a $10,000 a month, for example, goal on a $17, if all you have is $17 products. And so that really helps us to understand what your pricing structure and your price points look like in your business. Lead gen, free products is down here. This again is going to be really important, because, you know, just creating the content, being able to deliver really good nurture campaigns from your email and really good content to people on your list is going to be an important part of us creating funnels. So yeah.
Can I cut in? Sorry for just a second.
Absolutely.
So I remember at Infusionsoft we had something called the perfect customer lifecycle, where you go through a doc not too dissimilar from this, and you start to take inventory of the types of things you're doing in your business. And I actually remember it on the customer side when I first started using Infusionsoft, and I was going through a doc not too different from this, and I remember thinking to myself, like, oh shoot, I don't really have a freebie. Oh shoot, I don't really have 3 products. I only have 1 product. And what I didn't realize at the time was that was literally the best thing that could have happened to me, because I was understanding that I needed to create things in order to get to where I want to be, right? And so that's my quick point here, is if you're going through this and you're looking at it now and you're like, I don't have 10 freebie things. That's okay. Mm-hmm. That's okay. But let's start to build towards that, and maybe we start to color in the ones that are real now by filling in a different color, and ones that you want to create, as you've said, Jen, throughout this 12-month process, right? So there's a little bit of that split of mind of what is the current reality and what is hypothetical land when we're done with these 12 months, and we've really got to toe that line and play in both areas, if that makes sense.
It does. And actually, I'm glad that you said that, Mike, because the other thing that this allows us to do is, and I know that this may sound backwards to some of you, I actually love starting from scratch. And Tamika, I can see your face. But you know, when I look at, for myself and where we are in our business, you know, we created some products and we've created some free offers that we did it without thinking what the end result was going to be and what we wanted the outcome of that to be. And it was wasted energy and wasted time because we didn't really think it through. And so I actually love it when we can really talk through what that process is going to be and really understand what we want the outcome of the funnel to be, whether it's a free funnel or a paid funnel, so that we really are creating content that is going to work and that's useful, and that you don't just create it one time, you're like, well, that didn't work, or I don't like it, and then you just ditch it, and now we've wasted time and energy. So I think that that's really valuable, Mike, and thank you for saying that. So the next page here is what I then want you to do is like really think about what the lowest hanging fruit for you could be right now. And I bet that most of you have got something that you have started that is not done. And it started because you got stuck somewhere. You got stuck because of technology. You got stuck because you had to write sales copy, or you got stuck because you couldn't figure out exactly how it fit. It sounded like a really good idea when you started it, but as you moved through the process of building it, then you realized that maybe it wasn't a good fit for what you were trying to do for your business. So this really helps us to understand. And I just gave you an example of something I'm actually working on right now today. And this is just this was the name of the product. The content was a sales page. So your content might be a sales page, a landing page. It could be a quiz. It could be an email series. Could be a video series, social media posts, whatever. But so, yes, I've started on my page and there it is. And I made myself a note here that the reason why it's not done is that I've created the page and the framework of the page, but I haven't written the sales copy of it. And yes, that is correct. My deadline is tomorrow. So, this just really, this is how I work is I look for what's next on my list. What do I need to get done next? And so I want to really look at those kinds of things for you as well, because I have a feeling that you've got a lot of stuff that we're actually going to be able to pull from and just put a really good funnel and a really good strategy behind it and kind of just put a nice little bow on it and make it usable for your business pretty fast. So this is part of the short term. And so this being for next weekend. Now, Mike and I, the reason why we came up with this was Mike and I were meeting last week and we were talking about other events that he and I had been to. And Mike, I loved it when you said, I hate it when I walk into a client's office for a meeting and we sit down and everybody looks at each other and says, okay, what are we doing? And there had never been really any thought process going into the meeting beforehand. And I think, Mike, you told me that you'd sat down with one person and realized that, you needed like 14 variations of their logo, like that would have been really good to have known before the actual implementation started so that if there's things that need to get ordered from the designers and stuff like that we know.
Right. And some of what Jen is talking about is about dreaming a little bit. Like, and I hate to get California on all of you, but you need to, from a philosophical standpoint, start to think about, if I had a magic wand in my business, this is what this program is about. If I had a magic wand in my business and I could wave it and I had some things built, what would those things start to look like? And I'm not saying all of those things are going to get built, but if you list a lot of those things, there are some of those things that we can work on. And that's kind of the important thing as it pertains to asset building. So again, it doesn't have to be something that exists already. And that's why we're having these conversations before we show up. When we all get to meet together in Atlanta, we need to start to sort these things out before then. And that's the point that Jen's making is, let's have a plan. I remember, it was in high school, right? When you come to class with your homework done, you get more out of the class. It's just a simple thing. So that's what we're talking about here is let's make sure we're as prepared and ready to rock as possible so that we can make the most out of the time that we have together.
Yeah, and something that you guys are going to, if you haven't already figured this out yet, you're going to, I think. With this team of people that you've got between me and David and Mark and Mike, Dad, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, but it's not really picking. It is you being like the man behind the curtain, you're like the Oz, right? And that you go to idea mode. Dad goes to like what is absolutely possible for your business, and he sees that fast. Me, I hear that from him, And all I do is go, oh my gosh, because this, and this all have to get done to make that happen. And that counting on my fingers of all the things that have to get done then becomes overwhelming to me. And so the only way it works to get it done is to have it listed and to have milestones. And I mean, I hate to sound like this, guys, but we have to treat this like it's a project. We're talking about project management, milestones and goals, because it's the only way it's going to get done. And so sometimes we're going to look at these things and say, this just isn't possible based on what you currently have available to you time-wise, or in your business right now, or that you can commit to. And so, but it's going to be really important that we just see that. So I don't want to keep harping on that. But that just becomes really important, because we want to take that vision that you're going to get from my dad in your one-on-ones and when you're talking with him. We want to take that. We want to take the excitement that you get when you're talking it out. And then we want to be able to build it and put it down on paper and create true execution plans for that. That makes sense for everybody? Okay.
And Jen, real quick before you move on, one point that I want to touch on is, if you don't know what assets you need and what you should be thinking about when it comes to asset creation and strategy, that's totally okay. That's where we're going to start. And I think, Jen, I'm not sure if you were going to go through the questionnaire briefly after this, but yeah, so I think that will help from that context as well, is if we just zoom out, take that 30,000 foot view and look at what you're trying to accomplish, what that end result is, that's going to help inform the strategy on what those assets are, how we need to build them, and what the execution plan is. So I just say that because I don't want anyone to feel like, well, I have no idea where even to start with what assets need to be created over that weekend. We're going to get to that as well.
Yeah, and that's why, and really this goes back to, because the very first question on the document I'm about to show you is, what's your current reality? And so this helps us to define what the current reality is just knowing. And you guys, this isn't good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It just is what it is. And so that's the starting point. We all have to start at the same spot. So interestingly, I'm going to go through this document really quick. Cheryl, you asked a really great question here. She said, I'm not completely savvy with Google Drive. Can you provide some helpful hints about maneuvering between other items in my Google Drive? So after we go through that, Mark, you want to maybe like have a little ninja conversation, because I look at Mark's Google Drive and I'm like, will you please make mine look like yours? So that would be
I
really
would be happy to. Yes.
All right.
Organization is if I'm not organized, my whole world just falls apart. So I would be happy to help, Cheryl.
And it's funny because Mark's organization is literally like on his devices, and I think I'm organized and it's all in my head. But it's nothing compared to like the organizational skills that this man has. And they're like really like kind of award winning. So there's something to be jealous of. All right, let me get us pulled over to the dock here. So the other thing I want to do here, and this is the reason why we're not filling this out here on the call or anything, is I really just want to talk about the purpose of this. And I want to give you time to think about this, because you might change your answers. I'm going to ask that if you guys can have all of this complete by next Wednesday, so that we have the opportunity to go through everybody's files before our next call, which is on the 8th. And that call is going to be really us looking at all of this and then trying to kind of get a loose game plan for each of you in preparation for the 12th. So we'll meet on the 8th again. Then we see each other on the 12th. And so that gives us kind of that little bit of time for you to gather anything that you might need, for us to gather what we need when we're coming into Atlanta. So just real quick, I'll go through this, but you guys should have access to all of this as well. And this is just the current reality of your business. And like I said, it is what it is. Not right or wrong, and it's really, and Mark and Mike, you guys chime in here because you guys added some of the questions here too. It's really understanding like it doesn't have to be necessarily financial, although we are going to get into financials. I really want to know more about how you feel about your business, because it's helpful for us to understand, if you have created a business for yourself right now that you absolutely hate. I want to know that, guys. I really do, because it doesn't make sense for us to keep trying to build onto something that you hate right now, right? So I just want you to try to be as open and honest as you can with these questions, and that knowing that me, Mark, and Dad are the only ones that see your answers. So what's your main goal? And I should say here, your main goal here is, what's your main goal really with this program? And, I want you, these are going to be kind of general in terms of your overall business goal. And then we're going to start breaking that goal down into what the quarterly execution plans are as we get into our meetings and everything like that. Also, just making us really understand what your niche is, what your business is. I want to feel like I could do your elevator speech for you, because I really understand what your business is. Also, just what kinds of products do you currently sell? And here it's important, because if you are, let's say that you are selling information products and you do not want to sell coaching, for example, that's really important that we know that. We don't want to build things into your business that also don't allow you to have the life that you want to have, or that work in the life that you currently have. So that's why we want to know, what do you currently sell? And then what would you like to sell? That's also really important here. And so giving us, maybe name of a product, some details about it, and a pricing structure. Again, we want to make sure for us to be able to meet the financial goals that I think that you all want to meet in your business, we have to have a pretty wide range of price points, so that it's just easier. I mean, I'm just sorry. It's just the law of numbers. It's easier to do it with $1,000 products versus $17 products. So, so this is where we kind of start with, what are the challenges that you're having right now? And this can be just, I like to just say like a word vomit. It's just really, what's everything that you're challenged with in your business. And it's interesting. When I did the retreat with Mark in Flagstaff a couple weeks ago, we called it, the session that we did, it was called the hot seat, but one of the guys there just said, Jen, I want you to empty out your purse. And I said, well, I'm about to empty out a suitcase on you. And, and it took me talking kind of through the things that I felt really overwhelmed with in our business right now, and the challenges that I felt like we were having. I mean, it was so clear to everybody else. They saw it so fast, and how to kind of hone in on what that problem was, but I couldn't see it. I really had to kind of talk through it and let everybody else see that. So just feel free to use as much space here.
Hey, Jen, I know you're going to quickly go through these questions, and obviously they can read them, but like what you were just talking about, to me, is the point of this exercise. So I know some of you are like, Jen already knows my business, or Mark already knows my business, or those types of things. That is not the point of this document, to tell us about your business. To me, it's part of business is being emotionally sound, and this is a part of that from a therapeutic standpoint, where I want Mark, I know, loves Alanis Morissette. So if he was doing this, he'd probably throw on some Alanis Morissette, and he would be rocking out to Ironic, and he would spend a half an hour deeply thinking about these questions. Right? It's more important for you to put some mental strength and fortitude into these questions than it is to just get it done. And I don't know how much I can reiterate the importance of that, but you just need to take a second and ponder, what am I doing here? And these questions are guiding questions, but I just want to, again, you're going to get out of it what you put in. You need to spend some time thinking about these questions, and they're hard. Sometimes they get into like, why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? Like, you'll get to those points in some of these questions as well. So if a question is making you feel Like there's no answer. Right. I thought about this and I don't think I have an answer yet. I need to riff with Mike on a call or whatever it may be about this part of it. So anyway,
and the other part too is that when you start to feel uncomfortable is probably when you need to keep going.
Yep.
And it's funny, Mark and I, before we went to Flagstaff, we talked multiple times about what it was that we wanted for the weekend while we were there. And what actually happened while we were there was a little bit different than what we had planned on. But I mean, we spent like 2 or 3 weeks just having conversations. I talked to my husband. My husband didn't really understand anything other than just letting me talk about it. But even for him, because he knows me, knows my body language and knows kind of the stressors for me, that he was able to even ask me some questions while we were talking that led me to the next question for myself, because he could see an inflection of my voice or how I was reacting. So even if you just need to talk this through a little bit with somebody that's very close to you, that is not going to be judgmental of you and judgmental of your business, but that is somebody that you can have a real conversation with who understands, try that, because Mike's right. These are really important for us to help you. So this one's as simple as just letting us know about your outsourcing that you have available. This is a big one right here, is why do you think you've not been able to grow your business? And I gave some examples here. Is it lack of knowledge, lack of time, lack of financial resources? And don't just say, well, I think it's just my lack of knowledge. In order to help, we need to know specifically then what is it that you feel like you don't have. And so just be as complete, as thorough as you can. This is a really important one to me, number 9. And we talked about this on the spreadsheet, but I guarantee you every one of you has at least one of these. And that is a product or a project that's close to being finished, but you haven't launched. And I want to know, you guys, I want to know all the details about it. I want to know the whys. And I don't care if it's been 5 years since you started it. There's got to be something relevant that we can look at if it's close to being done, with some changes that we could make to it to make it relevant to today's market. And
project from 1997 that I want to get completed. I haven't given up on it, and it's completely different from what it was then, and it's a big one, but it's in my hip pocket, and I'm going to complete it one of these days. It's one of my dreams. So, put those things down if you have something that you really want to get done, because it leads to the top question is, why are you doing this? And the answer to why I haven't given up on this 1997 project is because it's why I'm doing everything I'm doing. And I want you to make sure when you get to that top question, the why you're doing this, that's the one I think is so important. It's not about I want to make money or I want to sell my products or I want to do this. It's about why do you want to have the life that you want to have? So that's all.
Well, and that becomes really important. And I'm going to go back to my Flagstaff thing for a second, because, Mark and I ended up getting something done in Flagstaff in like 12 hours that we had been working on for like 4 months. And we were just stuck on it. And being able to have another set of eyes on it to help us, it was just boom, knocked out. I left Flagstaff, it was done. And it was so shocking to me that I had such a block on it. And then there it was, we could just get it done. So that's why that becomes really important, that we know about those projects. I think this is a hard one. Number 10, I really want you to think about this. I would be satisfied with my business if I only what? And it can't be if I only had $1 million a month. We got to be realistic about these kinds of things. But I just want you to think about this, because I think about this every time we have a big decision to make in our business. Does it fit into this sentence? I would be satisfied with my business. And so I just thought that was an important one. Again, what do you want your business to look like 12 months from now? You can give an overall financial here. As we get kind of deeper into this, we're actually going to help you to create some budgets and milestones for revenue and profit and stuff like that. We will not get that done on this very first meeting, though. We need to really work on the low-hanging fruit, generating revenue, list building, as fast as we can so that we have an idea about how to make those number projections and things like that moving forward. And I want you to tell me what you think the top 5 things are that are the lowest hanging fruit in your business. That, you know, if you just had some help and you had a little bit of direction, what do you think you could just knock out? Boom, boom, boom. Because I want to look at those. Let's knock them out, right? And so this kind of goes back to, and you're going to do a lot more detail on this with or giving us actual specifics on your asset inventory. But this is a really good question about, for example, using Google Docs or WordPress or Infusionsoft, other tools, and what your how proficient you are with them, because we don't want to build things in your business and have you rely on things in your business that you aren't proficient in. And so either we need to figure out how to make you proficient, or we need to come up with solutions that you're comfortable with. There's going to be some times that we're going to say, you have to learn it. I mean, you have to learn Infusionsoft. I'm going to tell all of you that right now. You can't walk away from that one. You know, but there's some other things that, you know, we don't want to push you into if you're more comfortable with a different tool. So that's why it's really important here that we know this. So that's it. So I just want you to take some time with these. April the 3rd, if you can just pop a message over to me, or just in the Facebook group, say I'm done. Or you can put a comment in one of these Google Docs and say you're done. It'll notify us that that it's complete, and that way we can get in and start looking at everything. So Dad, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, you said something really important there about Google Docs. And Jen, show how to add a comment to one of these questions here.
Oh, Lord.
Because when somebody adds a comment to it, since we're sharing all of these, when somebody adds a comment here, if you're stuck and you want some clarification, all you have to do is put a comment in here, and it's going to notify anyone who is shared on the document.
Mm-hmm. So here I am anywhere on the doc right here, and I can just click here, and you're going to see this little add a comment icon come up. You just add an icon, and I can say at David, I'm stuck here. Can you help me? And of course, give us a little more of why you're stuck, but there's just an example, and then you can just click comment. Easy peasy. Yep. So the other thing that's going to be in your folder is, where is your folder?
That collaboration thing is why we're using Google Docs, because we can all work together here and there.
We use that, by the way, to write our email copy, sales page copy, and everything like that, so we can all work together and go through and proofread, make comments, and things like that. So the other thing you've got on your folder for right now, you're going to have a lot more, is just how to contact us, and it's got David's coaching email, Skype. It's got my Skype. It's got my Facebook Messenger. It's got Mike and Mark's email address here for NAMS. They're both in the Facebook group as well. And then this is, and actually, I'm going to remove this because I'm going to give you a different link. I'll add a different link in there for you guys on all of y'all's. But I'll have a little redirect for you for your actual booking link to schedule your calls with Mike. And you actually, I'm sorry, what?
Have you explained Mike's role yet?
No, we actually haven't. So
yeah.
We just need to do that really quick, and then we'll let Mark go through and give us a little Google intro. Are you waiting for me?
Yes. Well, Jen, do you want to talk through Mike's role, or should I take us away?
Oh, sure, go for
it. Sure. So I was the reason I told Jen and David that I had been, every time I give an example of what the perfect person to join a project should be, I would say, we need a Mike Edelman here. And in this case, we actually got Mike, which is why I'm so excited. And the reason is with masterminds, there is a very common theme that happens. And it's, you go to the mastermind, you talk a whole lot of strategy, you get some stuff done there, you get really energized, and you go home with a 400 line to-do list, and then you run right into a wall, right? And I think a lot of us have experienced that in one way or another. Mike is our group coach here that is going to, in between these sessions, ensure that you are moving along efficiently through that execution plan. So what Mike is going to be doing is touching base with all of you individually once a month and saying, Tamika, okay, when we left Atlanta, here's where you were, here's what the next things on your to-do list were, how have you been doing, what is the progress you've been making, what is causing you to get hung up, and what can we just talk through in the next hour that's going to be the most valuable to you. So in addition to having all of those ways that we can interact, like the Facebook group, we can bounce ideas off of each other anytime, Mike is really going to be two things. Number one, he's kind of your brainiac idea guy, where you can bounce anything off of him and he's going to have a ton of ideas for you. And number two, he's going to be your accountability partner. And actually, one thing that I was going to interject with before we ended this meeting is when Jen and I were at this retreat in Flagstaff, there was a very, very smart individual there who's the president of a multi-million-dollar consulting agency. And I asked him, what is one of the most important things that you can do when you start a relationship with a client? And what he told me I thought was absolutely genius, and I wrote it down. And he said, we will not absolve you of the responsibility for the performance of your business, right? And let me read that one more time. We will not absolve you of the responsibility for the performance of your business. And what I thought was really interesting about that was we are here to help you. We are here to be your guides, and we are here to remove every possible roadblock that we can from your path to success. But none of us can walk that path for you. And so I want everyone in this group to know that I want you to be committed to this process and ready to work hard, right? This is not going to be easy. Being a small business owner is not easy. I've done it for many years at this point, and a lot of times, as Jen said, sometimes I want to bash my head into the wall. And the most important thing that I've done along that process is surround myself with people that are in the same, that are walking the same path, that are running into those same challenges, that think the way that I think, that approach business the way that I like to approach business, and the way that I like to treat people and my clients, etc. We are now in that space where we're all walking this path together, but we each have our own individual path to walk. And so I just want to say from the outset here that I'm going to push everyone to keep moving along these execution plans and month in, month out to do the things that we want you to do, because I do not want us to get to the month 6 or month 9 or month 11 and say, man, I really haven't gotten that much out of that. We have completely failed if we end up in that situation. And I want to just call out right at the outset that if you leverage this group appropriately, and if you leverage Mike and his talents and our time together, you will not end up in that situation. So that's kind of my little kick in the butt here at the end.
And I do want to say too with Mike that, and I want you all to feel really comfortable. Mike's other primary role in all of this is to send up a flare. If one of you is like, if there's just some major stuff happening or some major overwhelm, you know, Mike's job in all of this too is to send the flare up to whoever it is that needs to intervene. And so whether it's Mark or me or Dad, and be like, hey, you got to get on this call because there's some major stuff that's happening, and, you know, we've got to be able to work through it. And they need more than just me here to help make some of these big decisions. So, you know, I just really want you to understand that this doesn't mean that you don't have the rest of us on your team with you. You know, Mike's just really, his primary focus is just to help you with the kind of the day-to-day stuff and making sure that all that's getting done.
Yeah, that all sounds good. I'm very flattered on this call. My ego feels a little bit pumped. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the working a little bit more in the weeds individually with each of you, because I know some of your businesses from a high level, but I think that like on our personal calls, we'll definitely be able to dissect where we should be spending our time, especially after we get some of these asset docs and things back. So I have to run here in just a minute to another call, but I just wanted to say I'm looking really forward to everything that we've talked about today. And my final parting words is put in the time to be prepared for these next calls and for our calls together, and prioritize it, make time for it, because the alternative is being unprepared and not caring about how your business does. And I don't think any of you are like that. So to me, it's pretty simple: care and try hard, and I'll see you on the other side of the rainbow, if you will.
Awesome. Have a good rest of the night.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
All right,
Good
talk to
seeing
you
you.
later.
Bye.
So let me answer two quick questions here. So you guys, on the other file that's in your folder is a links that you may need. And it's just some stuff that I've come up with as we've worked with some of our other coaching groups, some sales copy templates, things like that. Tamika just messaged me. There's a couple of links that have got some really weird error messages that I haven't never seen before. And I tested all these links earlier today. So let me just go in and mess around with those. So I know what's going on here, so I'll have all of that figured out here shortly after we hang up from this call. I have never seen these error messages before, so I got to dig in on that. Cheryl, you asked how will the calls be scheduled? So you guys are going to just have a link for Mike's Calendly schedule, and he has blocked off some, there's nothing, I don't think he's blocked any other specific times other than outside of business hours kind of thing. One of the nice things for you guys is that Mike's West Coast and almost all of you are East Coast or Central. So it gives you, that was kind of a strategy as we started working through this, is it allows you to be able to have some evening calls as well. And, you know, it's not midnight your time when in 8 o'clock Mike's time, you know, and so.
But let's set the expectations. These are not, you can't do these as daily calls, right?
Right. These are once a month calls.
Yeah.
Right. These are once a month calls. And so you'll just have your booking link and you'll schedule your call. And what happens is on your call, Mike actually has a call sheet that he'll go over everything for, you know, what your goals are. He actually puts that in your file. We all get a copy of it and things like that so that there is real progression and accountability with that. And then his calendar will be blocked, you know, if he's, you know, at an event or something like that. So it'll be just like anybody else's calendar.
And so the day-to-day stuff, if you've got questions, you need to be using the Facebook group.
Right. Exactly.
Because that's where we're going to try to answer those questions as fast as possible. And hopefully you don't come to a call with Mike where you have stuff that could be answered by anybody else in the Facebook group. Okay.
The other reason the Facebook group becomes important, though, is because a lot of times if you have a question, a lot of other people may have a similar question. And so it also gives everybody the opportunity to benefit from that. That's why I like to do the little recorded Loom videos. Amy always talks about how she loves my videos because sometimes it's just easy for me to get on and just do a little recording and then everybody gets to see as I'm like pointing out some issues on structurally on a landing page or something like that. Everybody gets to benefit from that.
Okay.
So
how we do it on time?
So Mark's just going to really quick show just a little bit of structure on Google, and then that's the last thing we had.
So if you have questions, you should be dropping them in the chat box now.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was going to say, since we are a little over, if anyone has to run, then that's totally fine. And I think you should be all caught up for the most part.
Yeah, so Dad just said,
here.
and while he's getting that started, Dad just said if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the chat box. And I'll put the recording of this call in the Facebook group.
Okay. All right, so can everyone see my screen here?
Yeah, but you have to move your Zoom little thing.
I always do. Okay. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. right. How are we looking now? We're just looking at Google Drive? Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, Mark, start from how you access that from Chrome.
Great question. Okay, so yeah, so there's a couple different ways. If you have Google Chrome, you're going to see this apps in your app bar. And also, if you just open up a new window, if you haven't been logged into Gmail, it should show up right here as well. So the easiest way to do that is just to come up here to apps, or if you're in Gmail, the other thing that you can do is this little button over here in the top right is going to show you all of the Google products that you have at your disposal. So if you just click Drive, that's going to pop open in a new window and just show you everything that you have here. What Jen shared with you today probably landed in your shared with me section here. So that means that you have not yet decided, hey, this is something that I want to pull into my drive, but someone has given you access to it. So if deliverables is something that you want to pull into your main drive, you can just come into that shared with me, grab it, and click and drag it right into your drive. And then so if you pop back in here, you'll see that that just popped up right here and is now part of my drive. So this home is essentially just like the file directory on your computer. I love it. It's great. And what I would say is just make as many different folders as you want. And that's really the key for me in everything organization-wise, is just make a whole ton of folders and make a whole ton of subfolders and keep drilling down and down and down, right? So I'll just give you an example here, and this is obviously my personal drive. So
Mark, you
have
applied Infusionsoft tagging to your folders, haven't you?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's actually what I told Jen the other day, is I do Infusionsoft tag categories the same way that I use Google Drive and essentially anything else, which is just think about it like a filing cabinet, right? You have this giant filing cabinet of all of the important pieces of information that you need. Open one of your drawers and you've got that manila envelope right there with the little tab on it that says, this is what this pertains to. That's the way that I think about organization across all of the different tools that I use, right? So if you drill into MH Zaluski LLC, which is my company, you can see all of these different entities that I'm working on or with or have in the past. And if you drill into Fathercraft, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with at this point since we've used it as an example, here are all of the different things that are related to Fathercraft. Every time that we have a meeting and I keep meeting notes, I drop them right into this folder. This is the first digital course that we're working on. If you click into this digital course, boom. Here is the outline for the course, how we're going to market for it. But then in each of these, I'm just drilling down again and again and again into all of these different elements here. So you can then back out. This is just going to show you up at the top here. You can back out really easily. So you can navigate between all of the different things that you're working on just through this bar up at the top. And if you want to go all the way home, you just click on the My Drive. So if you guys are inside of a new project, and let me just do this real quick. So this is NAMS Bootcamp, right? I can create a new folder here, and this is going to be the folder that you guys already have. But then you can just, if you want to make a meeting notes, because you're going to be taking meeting notes in addition to Mike when you have your one-on-one calls with him, just click that new button up at the top, click that Google Docs, and open this up, and this is my Mike meeting notes, right? And you can just start taking notes. And that call that we had on 3/26, we covered X, Y, and Z, right? And then up here, if you click on rename, it's just going to pull in whatever's at the top of that document, make it super simple for you. That way, when you pop back in to your NAMS Bootcamp, this is just going to show up right here. So that was a
uploading?
super quick introduction. If you have something on your desktop that you want to pull into a specific folder, so, okay, I just got an asset delivered to me. It's an infographic from a designer, or I just wrote some sales copy. You can just pop right into that folder that you want to pull it into. And then if you click new, you can also upload a file. So you can just come right here and then just grab something from your desktop and pull it right in, and it's going to drop right into that Google Drive.
I feel like I need you to come like Marie Kondo my G Drive.
Maybe that should be my next
My
venture.
life.
I'll just come and organize all your digital files for you.
I mean, I look at your Google Drive and I'm like, wait, how is it that it has 7 folders? I have like 7 folders, you know, in the very first little bar, and then I've got about 9,000 things. That's amazing. I love that organization.
So Cheryl, I know that was really fast, and there's a whole lot pertaining to Google Drive, but that's a good start. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So I live and breathe this stuff. If you have any other questions on Google Drive, just drop them into Facebook, and we'll take it away.
All right, so perfect. So Kathy said, let's all introduce ourselves and your niche inside the Facebook group. That's a great idea. So if you guys will just go in, you know, put your business, your websites, and all that kind of stuff, so that your other bootcamp mates will be able to really get a lot of information out of your business as well. That would be awesome. And I think that we're really kind of ready to wrap this up, unless anybody's got anything specific. You know, I just want to tell you guys how excited I am. Are you pointing at me, Cheryl? You can come on unmute yourself.
You know, when you look in the camera like that, you're looking at everybody.
To me?
Your dad
It's
is
really
looking at you, saying he has something to say.
Oh, okay.
What am I doing?
couldn't see you, Dad. You don't have anything to say?
Nope, done.
Oh, he was waving bye to it.
So yeah, I just wanted to tell you, I was really excited about this. This group is like my baby. This is the stuff I love to do. And I just love being able to dig in, get stuff done. And even though I feel like sometimes I live in an overwhelmed world, I guess that's why it's so easy for me to relate to folks that are really trying to get their business started, because I understand, I live and breathe what it takes to run this business, our business, every day. And so I get it. And, you know, we are truly a small family-owned business. And while we have a lot of people that we outsource with, you know, we still work in this business every day. So I totally get it. And, you know, it makes me so excited when we get to see like real success and light bulbs and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I just want to tell you guys that I'm excited.
Okay, and the last thing I want to say is thanks for being here. We really are excited to get this all done and start working. And I think we all probably need to go have dinner now, except for Cheryl, who's already eaten. So we're in good shape.
And Mark, what did you have?
I was just going to close with saying I'm really excited as well. And you guys wouldn't be here if we didn't already see the potential. There was a few folks who we turned down from joining this boot camp because we didn't think it was the right time for them, and we had looked at their business and it just wasn't a great fit. So you guys are here because we see that path to success, and I'm very excited to help us all get there.
All right. Well, you guys all have a good rest of the night, and I will get these links fixed really quick, and then I'll get the recording processed, and I'll put it up in the Facebook group so you can access it whenever you want. And we will talk soon, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.